Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Arell, and what I'm going to talk to you about today is the quality of being uncomfortable as a source of growth. Thinking about the dichotomy of comfort and discomfort as not really being an accurate estimation of our experience in the world insofar as those two things are considered contrasting or opposites. That means thinking about a middle ground in between discomfort and comfort. It's more thinking about how the quality of discomfort can actually facilitate flourishing or personal growth, ultimately challenging us to think about discomfort as being something that might actually be comfortable, even though it's just not comfortable. So let me give you a couple examples of this. When working with somebody who has a trauma history, there is always something that's lost. And this is how I personally talk about it and how I talk about it with my students. You have a trauma, you've lost something. You've lost multiple things, you've lost one thing. It depends on the experience, but there is something to be grieved. In that grieving process or mourning process, the experiences, the time frame, the endurance that it takes, none of it's fun. It's just not fun. Grieving sucks. It takes the life out of you. Mourning is scary. Feeling all of those feelings is scary. It's disruptive. It affects the way that people can function at high levels. All true. Totally uncomfortable. At its core, uncomfortable. Also, that mourning process, grieving what was lost, is critical to moving through a trauma history or through any kind of loss. So it doesn't have to be traumatic. It can be any loss. One has to mourn. So that entrance into something uncomfortable ultimately brings about a sense of freedom, if that's how you want to define it, a sense of comfort, a sense of reimagining or a new imagination of what the world is after the loss. But it cannot be accessed without going through the process that feels uncomfortable. That immediately kind of sets up or disrupts rather the dichotomy that says uncomfortable versus comfortable, because the discomfort leads to the comfort and they kind of work together. And by the way, neither one will ever be stagnant because we're all going to have things that we lose, all of us. The second analogy I'll use to explain what I mean and create some nuance has to do with any kind of working out or change that you want to see in your body, in your mentality related to working out, in your strength capacity. And maybe strength capacity is the best way to put it for me. I'm real comfortable with that expression because I think that strength capacity is healthy, whereas maybe changing your body, that has some negative connotations depending on how it's framed. But if you want to increase your strength, you have to challenge yourself. There has to be an element of discomfort in that challenge. Otherwise, there is no change. If you don't push yourself to the point of discomfort, there is no muscle growth, period. If there is no discomfort, there's no new way of thinking. So I'm working on a book with students right now. And one of the things that I'm thinking about is how can I create an experience in them that creates some discomfort so that their thinking shifts, because the discomfort will provoke thought outside of what feels comfortable, the box that they're in, for instance, or the circle that they're in, or the framework that they're working in. The discomfort will break the cracks around the edges of that container and allow them to think more expansively. In working with students, their discomfort also might create some discomfort for me, which will push me out of my comfort zone, break those cracks around me so that I can actually progress or enhance or flourish in my own thinking. In all of these cases, the discomfort actually facilitates a new level of comfort. So you could think about it in terms of plateaus or stairway where you're kind of going up. There's some difficulty in the upward movement, but then there's the respite. Then there's a pause. For me, though, I actually enjoy entering into discomfort so that I can learn something. Without that element in my life, things get stale, things get repetitive, even in relationships. I mean, and this is another way to think about it even. What relationship doesn't have discomfort? I mean, our real closest, most intimate relationships it's not comfortable all the time. And if it were, it kind of wouldn't be authentic, because perhaps that inauthenticity stems from, if that's the case in any given relationship, a lack of being oneself, because there's not two people that are going to agree on everything 100% of the time. So if I'm melding myself into someone else's viewpoints just to create comfort, eh, that's dishonest intellectually, also emotionally. It doesn't allow for growth to happen. It doesn't allow for the truth to emerge in any given relationship, because maybe that's not the right person to be in a relationship with if you can't have some conflict and discomfort. I also think it prohibits growth. I really think that having some discomfort allows for the ability to have new perspectives and to move into new realms of being, period. And even as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about like a seedling, right? Breaking through the earth. That can't actually feel good. But I bet getting out into the sun has its merits. And blooming and flowering or growing feels good somehow to a plant. It makes me think of talking to a plant. Anyway, I hope those metaphors and that those stories worked for you all to help uncover and illuminate what value discomfort has in terms of your own personal growth. Thanks.